Hey y'all, what's up? How's it going? Okay, so a lot of people have been asking me and messaging me on my Instagram just some random questions they have about exchange or about the process of doing exchange, whether they're just interested in it because they've seen some of my videos or posts, or because they're actually going on exchange themselves. So I thought the easiest way to do that was just having a Q&A video, so when people have the same questions, they can just refer back to this video. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the first question. First question, what to do if your host family doesn't speak English? Well, basically, you just learn German really fast. I know a couple exchange students, their host families don't speak English, and they just end up using a translator for the first couple weeks, but then they just picked it up really, really fast, and they just learned it because they're just kind of forced to be in that environment. I do know a lot of Germans. Most Germans I've talked to know at least a little bit of English. Some more than others, but a lot of them do. And even the exchange students that I've talked to that their host parents don't speak English, a lot of their host siblings speak English. So you're very likely to have people that speak English, but I will say, I would encourage you to talk as much German as possible. Anyways, next question. How long did it take to save money to go? So, fun fact, my program that I'm going through is actually a scholarship called CBYX, the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange Program. It's funded through the United States Congress and the German Bundestag, and so my program is actually relatively free. I just had to pay for flights and visas and like spending money and type of things, but the actual program itself was paid for by the scholarship. So it didn't take me, I didn't have to save up for it, because also for spending money and things, I'm a person that kind of likes to save my money anyway, so I've had a lot of money stored up for this. Next question. Did the scholarship include plane tickets? So my scholarship included a plane ticket from Washington, D.C. to Frankfurt, Germany. All the exchange students in my organization met up in D.C., so I paid for my domestic flight from Washington State to Washington, D.C. Okay, next question. What were the essays and stuff you talked about? So if you didn't know, in the application for CBYX and for most exchange programs, you need to write several essays as part of their process to figure out who they want to select. So in my organization, my process that I had to go through, I wrote, I think, 4 essays for the first round, just kind of answering some questions about myself or about how I anticipate being in Germany. And then after I was a semi-finalist, I had an interview with a panel of, not judges, but interviewers, and about 4 other kids on the Zoom meeting, and we were talking, and that was kind of to see how we interacted with the group. And then also I had an individual interview with those same interviewers, but it was just me, and they were asking me random interview questions about myself, about how I anticipated to overcome certain situations, or what I thought would happen over in Germany. And then I also had to write, I think, 3 more essays. And by essays, I mean like 500 words, so they're not too bad. They're mostly prompts like, what do you want to share about American culture with Germany? What piece of German culture do you want to have? Or why do you want to do exchange? So, yeah. Next question. Is it harder to keep up with school there? See, the thing is, I think it doesn't really matter where you're doing school. As long as it's in another language, it's kind of hard to keep up. I didn't speak any German before I got here. I had like 9,000 points in Duolingo, but that doesn't get you anywhere, honey. So I feel like, on one hand, I mean, yes, it's harder, but also I don't speak the language. For example, like in biology, I've already learned what they're learning about evolution and stuff, but I still don't know what's going on because I can't understand German. On the flip side, I do think that German school is a lot more science and math and STEM oriented. So if you're a STEM kid, you're gonna do fine, I think. But if you're like me and you're a creative arts kid and you took a lot of art classes and like speech and random electives, that were definitely, and you did not enjoy science, it'll be a little bit of a struggle. But also, some of my classes I don't honestly do that much in. For example, my German class, my teacher and I decided that I'm not going to be able to do the same work as them. So basically my German hour is just me being on Duolingo or reading German stories or like studying myself. So it kind of depends on your teacher. And like some of my teachers, some classes, it's kind of like I do certain activities but not other ones depending on what's required. Like in physics, I don't do most of the stuff, but he gave me like this English pamphlet from when he taught in the international school that it's like German and English mixed together. Some people I know have had to do like exactly their work and exact class because also depends if you're getting credits at school, because that means you have to do more things. For example, I only needed 1.5 credits, so I'm only getting graded in I think like 3 or 4 classes, and I got to pick which ones because I only needed electives. So I have English that I'm getting graded in, art, sport, and music. So I don't need to worry as much about the other classes, but for the students who do need this class for their grades and their transcript, it's a lot more complicated and it's much harder to keep up with school. Okay, is there any pre-advice for anyone? This is a really loaded question, if you ask me. I have a lot of advice on a lot of different topics. So my main piece of advice is try to get as much information about everything before you can before you go. For example, like what you need for school credits, what you need to graduate. If you can take this year off and still have a way to graduate, versus if that means taking summer school or extra credits the next year or whatever. Or if you need, I don't know, a lot of it's related to school because I don't think, and also I would take a German class, like an actual German class before you get here, because Duolingo doesn't do anything. And Mom, I know you're going to say that if I did more Duolingo it would help me, but I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. No. Take a German class. I would invest in that because it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of tears and a lot of energy. So, and you'll still have plenty to learn no matter what class you take. And I mean, if you don't take class, you'll be fine. You'll survive. I'm obviously surviving, but it's a lot easier if you know some German. Next question. With COVID, is there any new rules there? Yeah, so right now, most places are in 2G or 3G, which means you either have to be tested, have the vaccine, or have overcome COVID, like had COVID and recovered from it recently. So, and you have to wear a mask everywhere. And if you're above 18, you have to wear an FFP2 mask. But like everywhere you go, they make you either show a vaccine or test. And right now, a lot more places are getting 2G, which means they don't accept just a test unless you're under a certain age. So, yeah, that's that. Are there any churches there for Christians? Yeah, so you just kind of have to look and see in your area. Once you know your placement, you can talk to your host family, or you can do some research on your own and see if there's a church in your beliefs around there. For example, my church, I just looked up churches around my area that had the same religion as me, and there were 2, and I just picked the one that's easier for me to get to. It's still like a half-hour away using the Straßenbahn, but it's not that bad. Not that bad. Any tips for making your parents feel more comfortable with you going? To be honest, I don't know why my parents let me go, because we've talked about this as a joke in the past, and they're like, no way are we letting you go. But I made them a presentation to why they should let me go. Like a whole PowerPoint with like the pros and the cons. But the thing is, all the cons, I made sure they were also pros. Well, kind of. I think it just really boils down to ask them why they don't want you to go. And if it's for something like, oh, we don't want you missing out, just explain to them why exchange is worth more to you than that one thing. For example, like I love sailing and I love my FFA club at school, but I just had to think about why exchange was worth stopping those for a year. And if they're not okay with you going because they're going to miss you, nicely bring up that you're going to go to college or move out and get a job someday and that you're not going to be around. If they're worried because they don't think you're responsible enough, well then that's all the more reason you should go. So basically, ask them why they don't want you to go and just kind of find reasons nicely and respectfully why that counters it. Next question. What is your favorite part about being in Germany? Honestly, that's really hard. That's really hard because, well, Germany specifically or on exchange? I think it said Germany, so we're just gonna go with Germany. I really love seeing all the old things and it's so pretty, like all the castles and the old towns and just like the nature and going hiking and I don't know, and just getting the German vibe, like the pretzels and the sausages, and like I said, the castles. I love castles. I'm gonna say castles are my favorite thing about Germany, and the old towns. Yeah. Okay, next question. Do you miss your family? Not really. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sorry, Mom, and all of you guys watching. Sorry. No. I do, however, sometimes I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to have them here because, or like, it'd be nice to not have a 9-hour time difference so I could just like ask them this thing right now or like tell them this thing right now, but I don't really miss them per se. And sometimes it's like, oh, it'd be cool to have them here experiencing this with me, but I don't miss them. So, we're good. Most negative realities of exchange with CBYX. I don't think CBYX itself has had anything negative, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed CBYX because I've gotten to learn more about politics, specifically like German politics and environment stuff. And I mean, it was free. So I think it's more just exchange in general. I think I was a lot, because my scholarship, they partner with a bunch of different organizations to, like, the scholarship just applies to that organization. And I think my organization, I love my organization. I think they're okie doke. I do, however, think I was a little underprepared. They have these, like, before you go sessions, but they didn't really teach you that much. It was just like, oh, culture shock, you're gonna get homesick, which I haven't gotten homesick. Yeah. And then it kind of, like, I didn't feel like it prepared me for any of the actual things I needed, like assimilating into a new host family, a new town, learning a new language, and like just things like school and transferring things back home. So I feel like I was just a little underprepared with the organization itself. Other than that, I feel like CBYX and ASSC have been pretty good. Also, sometimes I do know that it's sometimes hard to find a good person to contact with, like, your area representatives. Maybe it's hard to see, like, they don't see your point of view very much, or they're just difficult to work with. But usually, like, a higher person, eventually you find someone that's good. It just might take a minute to find someone that's good to contact. Okay, next question. How long after the interview portion did you find out if you got in or not? Okay, so my interview was, I believe, late January, like the very, very end of January. And I didn't find out that I got in until like the end of April or the middle of April. I think it was the middle of April. So, yeah. But also I know that the interview times can be different. So, I mean, I know some other people who are applying this year and their interviews are in February or this month. So it's just, I don't think it's the same every single year, but for me, it was February to March. March to April. 3 months. It was 3 months. Okay. Next question. Would you say you're enjoying your experience? Most definitely, yes. I think this experience has been one of the best things ever that I've ever done for myself. I think I've learned a lot about me, about the world, about what I want to do in the future, and I think I've become a more independent and more self-reliant person. Yeah. And I'm having a lot of fun. I'm meeting new people, and I'm seeing new places and getting to do crazy things that I never thought I'd be able to do in my life. So I'm really enjoying exchange. Okay, wait, is that the end? No. How do you feel about having to pay for the restroom? Okay, actually, I heard that there was a thing, but I've never had to do that because I just hold it. Like, I just go before I leave the house, and then I don't have to until I get home. So, I don't think I've actually ever been in a public restroom here. No, I haven't. No, what? I haven't. That's so weird. How have I been here almost 6 months? Going on 6 months, and I haven't been in a public restroom. Okay. So yeah, I guess I just hold it. Okay. Okay, what are some of the downsides or not so positive experiences? This is kind of related to that, the other one, but this is just in general, I think, not specifically with the organization. So some negatives are feeling like you're missing out, but you're not actually missing out. Or just like seeing your friends' pictures back home, like on Instagram, and being like, wow, I could be doing that with them, or that could be me right now. Or when you don't have friends for the first like 2 months, that's hard. Or when you are just in a group setting at an event and you just realize you have no idea what's going on and you don't know what anyone is saying, and you're just like, wow, I feel great. But then you feel even worse when they translate it for you, because you're like, they shouldn't have to translate it for me. They should just be able to enjoy the conversation. Or just things like that. Or there's a lot of random things like, I'm gonna make another video about this, but one thing that I didn't hear a ton of people talked about, and the people I did, I thought it was just a joke because not very many people talked about it. You're gonna gain weight on exchange, and that was not something I was prepared for. Not at all. So that's been a not so positive experience for me, but it's okay. Or also just kind of feeling dumb when you don't know what's going on at school. Like I said earlier, I don't do all the work there, so I kind of just sit there for like 6 hours, and maybe a couple of my classes per day, like one or two of my classes per day, I actually do stuff in, but half the time I'm not. So you have a lot of free time, and you might think that's great, but when you have 6 months of free time, it's not great. Or when you can't find something to join and you're just at home a lot, that's also not fun. So, yes. That was all for the Q&A. Anyways, if you guys have any more questions about anything I said, or if you want me to go more in depth on one of the questions, I am planning on starting an Honesty from Exchange series where we talk about in depth a lot of things that I wish that I had known before exchange, or I wish that people have been honest about and talked about besides just like the fun, exciting things. So if you have anything specifically that you want me to go more in depth about, leave it in the comments, message me on Instagram, and let me know if you want me to do more Q&As, because I like this a lot better than answering all of your questions individually. I do like answering your questions though. I wish I had someone, when I was applying or preparing for exchange, I wish I had someone that was willing to answer my questions. So, love you guys. Subscribe. Go follow me on Instagram. Go look at my blog. They're both here. And have a nice day. You know, you should do something nice for your mom or your dad. And if you don't like your parents, go do something for the little old lady that lives down the street. And if you have none of those, comment on someone's Instagram that you like, that you miss them. So, I don't know. And if you don't have Instagram, well, I don't know what to do. Go pick a flower and hand it to some woman at the grocery store, okay? And if you can't do that, figure it out, okay? I can just imagine all you guys, specifically my brothers, being like, well, I can't do that. Well, the point is, be nice to someone today. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Thank you.